All right, everyone. Andrew and Tristan Tate have been released by the Romanian authorities from house arrest, so they're free to wander around the general area of Bucharest now over in Romania, where they had been in confinement under house arrest over various charges related to coercion and rape mainly. And I have several thoughts that I wanted to give on this. Firstly, I've been reluctant to bother amplifying their very existence by even mentioning them. And that's for my own, ideological reasons. But this is newsworthy because I have a feeling that something may be cooking up, probably in the coming days or weeks, with regards to this. Andrew and Tristan Tate may very well be able to get shuttled out of the country. And one of the reasons why is actually one of the reasons why I would be defending them, at least on the legal level. First, though, to my criticism. Andrewtate especially, and to a lesser extent Tristan, represent faux masculinity. The concept that to be manly is to subjugate everyone around you, flaunt your wealth, basically be an egotistical jackass. So I don't really support them on that. Hey everyone, if you want a masculinity teacher, go with the golden one. You probably don't want to go with Andrewtate. You can be a jerk-off. You probably will not become massively wealthy like him and have, 5 Porsches and a private jet or whatever. But, you can play the role and build your muscles and stuff. If you want to pray at the temple of the iron pill, it would be better to go with someone like the golden one, who seems to lead a more intellectual life. So it's not just, hey, I built my muscles, I made money, and so I can do whatever I want. That's really not masculinity. That's called being egotistical. Masculinity also has a caring and protective aspect of it towards women and children especially, a nobility that's lost on many people. So they want women to worship them, but they don't want to put in any effort towards having any emotional capacity. And that's basically what you get with the Tate methodology. I would go with the golden one more. Now, you should also read the ancient tomes and go to the sacred groves and eat healthy and not just basically be a rich gym lunk. That would be my own personal opinion. Of course, I am not exactly the most physically impressive ideal of masculinity, and by the way, I'm aware of this, but there's an intellectual and an emotional capacity to that too that is missed by it. That being said, let's examine the nation of Romania. And here's why, while it's believable, this is a real problem. And I'd be a hypocrite if I didn't point this out. And I'm not defending Andrew Tate's personality when I say this. I've publicly defended Marilyn Manson, for example, against some of the Me Too claims against him. It's all too convenient that a person who on stage spazzes out and, cuts themselves and talks about all sorts of weird, perverted stuff and is known to be, drugged out and kind of freaky at times, a party boy, basically. It's too convenient when then you get a bunch of Me Too claims against that person. And what I've said is there's a standard of evidence to be followed in such cases. It frequently is not, and that's very, very regrettable. People jump on the lynch mob train. They dogpiled Marilyn Manson, for example, partially simply because of his public persona. Of course, people who can vouch for him in personal life say, no, he's actually kind of quiet. Yeah, in the bedroom it might get a little bit messy, but, it's all consensual, and, people, sometimes they're into that. They're into whips and chains and leather bondage and stuff like that. I will extend the same courtesy to the Tates. The problem is that the nation of Romania is known to be very, very corrupt with regards to its prosecutorial discretion. It's a little bit like the nation of Italy. There was a case years ago. I can't remember. I think there was a college kid that was living in Italy for study, and she was, I can't remember what crime they charged her with. They charged her, found her guilty, overturned it. She came back to the U.S. They were trying to extradite her. I can't remember her name. And, of course, she didn't get extradited. But the court system there in Italy was corrupt. Romania is worse. Romania is among the most corrupt nations in all of Europe. Getting a fair trial there is basically who you can bribe. And that corruption, ironically enough, might be how the Tates could theoretically escape Romania. You see, bribery and blackmail are common in certain parts of Eastern Europe. Certainly there, Ukraine would follow suit. By the way, to people who think that I'm I'm praising Russia by saying that. The same is true in Russia, and I actually took the anthropology of Eastern Europe. I had a professor who went to Ukraine on multiple occasions. It is a corrupt society. Basically, you're going to you have to show your papers. But one little thing about your papers might kind of sort of raise eyebrows. So you keep an extra bottle of decent vodka in the back along with, 50 bucks worth of the local currency and say, look, come on, my papers are fine. Okay, you can pass. Yeah, thank you very, very much, my fellow citizen. The same is true in Romania, but on steroids. You're not going to get a fair trial, and the Tates know this. The local authorities are corrupt. They can potentially bribe them to get out of the country and say, doctor some photos. They're supposed to give regular updates about their location. It's not entirely impossible for them to pre-make a bunch of selfies or something like that, tinker around with the metadata, and present that to the authorities by having a third party submit it to them. Also, while again, I am a critic of Andrewtate's basic ideological methodology, he does have a lot of fans. So does Tristan Tate. It is not inconceivable that, considering their worldwide audience, that there are sympathetic people over there in Romania that might be willing to help them. And that's why I suspect that it's entirely possible they managed to slip the leash. They managed to go under the authorities' noses and get out of Romania. If I was one of them, I probably would take the opportunity if I thought that it was feasible to do so. Because whether they're guilty or not doesn't really matter in a Romanian court. All that matters is the Romanian court and whether the person who happens to be presiding over the goddamn trial at the time is not a total shitfuck. They could be innocent of these charges. They may be boorish, they may be goofy, they may be leading, especially young males, down a very dark path, but that doesn't make them necessarily rapists. It does not necessarily mean that they're cult leaders or something like that. And that really becomes the problem. You have to be willing, especially in the legal sense. As an American, of course, I believe in more expansive rights than you tend to have in a nation like Romania. You have to be willing to, in good faith, defend people who you find personally indefensible. Do this all the time with liberals. Hell, fucking Hassan Piker. At one point, he got a temp ban on YouTube or someplace, and I made a video calling that out because it was clearly bullshit. Hassan Piker would never do that for me. He'd never do that for anyone who was to the right of Karl Marx, but you have to defend him anyway because that's the name of the game if you want free speech. Likewise, if you want fair trials, you have to call out the Romanian system for what it is. It's a goddamn mess. It's notoriously inefficient. It's notoriously corrupt. And basically by taking him out of house arrest, maybe they're telling him to get lost. It might be sort of like a Gonzalo Lira thing. Of course, he may or may not have made it across the border. We're still waiting for more updates about that. By the way, you can DM me on Twitter if you've got any inside info on that one. Maybe he made it into Hungary, but he's in hiding at the moment because of the diplomatic crisis brewing between the Hungarians and the Ukrainians, threatening another brothers' war, something like that. So that's my thoughts on this. You don't have to like them, but you do have to understand that you don't also have to like the Romanian legal system, and that corruption within that legal system may actually pave the way for them to get out of the country. I don't know whether that will happen, whether that's in the works, or whether they're like, there's no evidence of it anyway, so we're just going to stand trial, or whether they'd even be successful. An attempt might actually be made. Nonetheless, though, I would encourage you, if you're looking for a masculine leader and, your daddy wasn't there as a kid or something, so you didn't get that, I would watch The Golden One as opposed to Andrew Tate. I think that's probably a lot better a mentor if you need an online mentor for building yourself up. It doesn't come by breaking other people down. That's about all. Peace out.